A hearty Mahakam welcome to you.
What an honor! Even the arbalists salute us with cocked quarrels.
Oh, that, well. An ounce of prevention saves a slag heap of trouble. None too shabby as views go, eh?
Were it not for the howling wind, I'd make a sketch.
Meve rode slowly, her surroundings interesting to her, her ears keen to take in the cacophony of sounds. The sharp whistle of wind rushing past towering peaks, the squeak of wagon wheels rolling over frozen snow, and the roar of beasts.
What the... I dare not venture a guess.
Gabor scratched his chin.
An ice troll. Or one of them Barbigazar bejabbers.
These beasts, are they tame? As the dragon?
Not in your life. Fierce horses, every last one of them. Spring cleaning year past, one year bit my arm clear off.
The Queen's brow rose in a silent inquiry.
All right. You don't quite ken the context. Each spring, with the melting of the snows, a good bit of that filth comes out the ground. That's when Brother Hoog summons all dwarves for spring cleaning. We cut down as much of the filth as we can, and that means relative calm the rest of the year.
Out of the corner of her eye, Meve noted a dark shape darting between rock formations. Calmly, she drew her sword and brandished it a time or two to warm up her stiff arms.
Seems it is our lot to assist you with this cleaning. Lyrians, arms at the ready. Prepare to fight!
Stop standing around like corns on a toe! Get to work!
I smell a leak.
Discipline shall bring us victory!
Go, hop, hop! Watch out! It's rolling our way! You sure about that?
You mad? Don't shake that!
Should have listened to me, old lady.
Your Grace, be careful.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Nothing personal, I assure you.
Ice cars? No. They don't get it.
Prepare to fight, if you've any honor.
All right. You got some splaining to do.
As the wails of speared Shaelmars died down, the crowd of Mahakaman infantry parted. A dwarf stepped forth, grey as a snowfox, wrinkled as a prune. He walked with difficulty, supporting himself on a battle-axe, its two heads dripping blood.
This would be our Elder-in-Chief, Brúvar Hugh.
And who might your guests be, Gabor?
Meve, Queen of Lyria and Rivia, and her associates in court.
My regards, Elder. I come...
You come for something. Coin's my first wager. Fighting bodies my second. Well, what is it you want? I'm on in the years, aye, but I'm not gone dotty. Tja, you menfolk. You got to fall on hard times to remember us dwarves.
I've come with a design in mind, I cannot deny. But hear me out and you shall see.
She's armed! Gabor! Why the devil did you let her in here like that? And without a sack or her heat!
She has the leaden ring, Elder.
A gift from a king.
From Demavend, lassie, I ken that already. Trust a man, give him something of value, and he'll go and give it away as easy as a street whore gives away nubs. It's a good thing he didn't pawn it. Sons of humans.
You interrupt me. I'm not accustomed, for you see, I am a queen.
That's so. For I've heard you were stripped of crown and title some time past. Not so much a queen no more. Nay, don't you fear, tidings of that sort reach us here, too.
Her Majesty was shamefully betrayed, 'tis true. Yet the unified throne of both realms remains hers, as the laws hold.
Laws, schmaws, shite and bare paws. I ken well the kind of respect you human folk accord your laws. We've signed pacts, treaties a many o'er the years, and each time but a couple of years that pass afore you shatter all the terms. Now, on a normal day, I'd have you all thrown clear out of this land I love. But you've the leaden ring, and that grants you the right to hospitality. And here, in Mahakam, laws and rights are sacred. You may stay in the pass long as you wish. Young Zigrin'll serve as your guide. And once you've tired of the mountains, well, you ken the way down into the valleys. I bid you farewell.
My Lord Elder, with all due respect, we came to your aid. We smote the beasts with you, yet...
And who the demons is this one?
Count Reynard Odo.
Ho ho, Odo, Lodo, Bodo! Now, you listen and listen well. We didn't ask for aid, and you know why? 'Cause I've my dignity. Not like some. Mates and wenches! Spring cleaning's done, beast culling's over. Mount Carbon beckons us home. Follow me!
Your Grace, be not dismayed. We will find a way.
Manage we shall, true. Though damned if I know how. We have none other to whom we can turn, no other land where we can flee.
Let us convene in council, Your Grace. Consider together what's to be done. We've yet Redania, Temeria...
Your Grace, might I draw you aside a wee moment, for a jabber?
Reynard, please excuse me. Well, what is it you want?
I ken the Elder-in-Chief dinna make a good first impression.
And the second? Is it any better?
To be quite frank, no. I'll try elsewise. Not all's lost, trust me. Brúvar's a stubborn goat, no doubt about it. But a goat to be persuaded. And I happen to ken how.
The selfless impulse to help. I don't believe it exists. So before you describe how you aim to aid me, be kind enough to explain why you wish to do so. Unsolicited, mind you, and clearly against your elder's wishes.
A query of my own to answer yours. Do you ken when Bruverhoog last strode down the mountains into your lowlands?
I know not. While King Sambuc sat on the throne?
Point of fact, never. Hoog was born here and he'll die here, like most Mahakaman dwarves. Whereas I'm a frequent visitor in your human lands. Been an emissary to royal courts, trade guilds, mummers, troops, and I've eyes. I can see all the rubbish goes on between yous. Nilfgaard's insatiable. The Blackclads will not stop till they've put the whole continent neath their boot. From Ophir in the south to the Dragon Mountains in the north. Gods forbid they grip all the Nordlings' realms in their vice. 'Cause then we'll have their hordes all round, controlling all the trade routes, supply lines, diversions even. And then they'll control terms and prices. Ooh. We dwarves have never been on a lead, let alone a short one. So, in short, we'll all be better off with the Blackclads back across the Yaruga. And I've seen your grace. Seen you in battle. You've brawn and bite, and with the right support, you can drive them back. I ken that well.
Very well, I'm all ears. What must we do to spur Bruverhoog to aid us?
I might start with the thorn in our side that are beasts. A bigger thorn than most expect. See, in our never-ending search for gold, we dug deep. Too deep. And reached abysses where monsters are born, or however they come to be. Soon as it turns a bit warmer, they crawl out to feed. And there's more every year. What you saw there, the spring cleaning, that's just light yearly upkeep. It dinna go at the source of the blight. Every spring we cull enough so we can live and trade and mine, normal-like. But there are corridors in the upper valleys midst the peaks, where more lie waiting to pounce. So many, there's settlements that have done been abandoned.
I still fail to see how this relates to myself and Bruver.
Your Majesty, slay the beasts down to their last, and you'll win the hearts of the clans. All of them. And with the clans behind you, why, the Elder'll have no choice. He'll bend an ear, treat you serious. You got two sites through which beasts swarm in great numbers. There's Davor's Abyss, and an abandoned underground settlement called Boro's Rump. Destroy those, collapse the corridors, problem solved.
You colour the solution as simple and known. Why has Bruverhoog not gone at the matter?
Ha! You must learn one thing about us dwarves of Mahakam. Customs, traditions, why, we're obsessed. Goes thrice for Bruver, the Elder deliberates weeks on end. And that's in considering if we shouldn't wear suspenders, 'cause they might be through outside, and should thus be forbidden. We've a set of laws, the Four Dwarves Codex. One of its tenets says, dare ye not close a corridor once oped. So, no self-respecting dwarf can, nor will do it. But you're free out with. The laws dinna apply. You've a free hand in sealing the corridors from which the beasts come. Collapse them, flood them, I dinna ken, but solve the grief once and for all.
And this, 'twould suffice.
I believe it would. But find you other ways to win the heart of a clan or Bruver itself. Do so. Can he bring no harm?
All this sounds rather toilsome, yet I do favour this to losing another moon seeking out a court where we would at first be welcomed, only later to hear another rebuke. You've my gratitude, Gabor. You've shown me a way. Very well. Let us think on these beasts. See what's to be done. I've come to the conclusion your Elder-in-Chief is not fond of guests.
Fond? That's near the quarter of it. He hates them, with seething passion. But you're damned lucky.
Why's that?
Let you in, didn't he? Mahakam was cordoned off completely from the outside world for many a long year. Clans finally forced Bruver to at least let in peddlers and emissaries. Though he dragged his feet as long as he could. mad? Don't say that!
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Should have listened to me old lady.
All right, that's no problem.
This could hurt.
What do you want of me?
Cursed traitors. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
No time for that. The unworthy shall be punished. As ordered.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Wait, you're serious?
Quiet, wench, or you'll scare the fish off.
The dwarves are demanding a pretty sum, but their steel's worthy of any crown.
Meave noted a crowd of dwarves. They were several dozen, many holding baskets brimming with dried sausages, soft, puffy pretzels, and jugs of frothy beer.
What is this gathering?
She asked Gabor.
These folk, they're the parents of youngsters who are to return today from their Draconic.
Gabor proceeded to explain that the Draconic was a trek upon which the local dwarves would embark when they reached maturity. During this year-long voyage, young folk would taste of life beyond their home. Yet if they failed to return on time, they would be stripped of all rights and privileges accorded to Mahakam's natives.
See, in recent years, young folks' blood's been boiling on account of the strict laws in force here.
Gabor added.
So, we send them out. Let them taste life in the lowlands. Once they've learned for themselves what it's like to live among humans, they come back and ain't likely to complain.
Customarily, only a few dwarves ever decided to remain in the valleys for good. That year, however, was different.
Deadline's the Mora. And 40 Drakethagers still haven't returned.
Their parents now worried if some misfortune had not befallen them. The Mahakaman Guard had sent out patrols to the near reaches of the valleys. They returned not having seen anything distressing, while the humans living at the foot of the massif had been largely unwilling to talk. The guard captain, a dwarf with a fiery red beard, removed his helmet, wiped the sweat from his brow, and addressed Meave.
Your Majesty, we need to find our youth. Perhaps you'd be willing to go out and search. Human folk are more like to tell you if they saw anything out of the ordinary of late. Naturally, there'd be something in it for you too.
If your guards who know these mountains like the backs of their hands could not find them,
said Meave,
then I truly doubt we will. Forgive me, I must refuse.
Having said this, the Queen rode off and her army resumed its march. And the dwarven parents were left to turn their gazes once more toward the valleys. The Queen noted a building with unusually lavish ornamentation, including shining bronze roof tiles and glistening rock crystal window panes. An important clan dwelled there, Gabor explained. The Breckenrigs.
Could you introduce me?
Meave asked.
Perhaps I can convince them to intercede with Bruver on my behalf.
The clan head, Iva, invited Meave to an exquisite feast. But when she broached the subject of the war raging just outside Mahakam's borders, the dwarf changed the subject at once. Looking around the interior, Meave quickly understood why. The walls were ordained with Nilfgaardian tapestries and rugs. Gifts from friendly Imperial envoys, no doubt. Meave prepared to leave, convinced she had wasted her time, when someone clasped her shoulder and pulled her into a darkened room. Her kidnapper turned out to be a young dwarf, female, it seemed, dressed in her nightshirt. She introduced herself as Iva's daughter, Eudora Breckenrigs, and openly admitted she had eavesdropped on Meave's dinner conversation.
Listen, me dad's stubborner than an old goat, but I'll convince him to help ye. For a wee favour, that is.
Mm-hmm. What?
I want you to steal something from the clan archive. Historiae Mahakamorum, 'tis called. See, me dad won't let me betroth me sweetekin Zoltan. Says the codex forbids marrying a dwarf who's left the mountains. But there's precedent. Just such a case described in that document. If I can show it to Da, he'll have to change his mind.
Meave felt sympathy for Eudora and wanted to help her, especially considering the favor Eudora could do her in return. But she fully realized if her attempt to break into the archive ended badly, it would result in a tremendous scandal Bruver Hoog would not soon forget.
The pot's worth the play, I believe. Fine. I accept your offer.
They then shook hands, sealing the deal. Meve had to bite her tongue to stop from crying out, for the young she-dwarf had the grip of a brawny blacksmith. Meve returned to her company, and, massaging her sore hand, presented Eudora's offer. Gascon volunteered for the task at once.
Thievery's my forte. The dwarves won't notice a single mothball out of place.
Gascon snuck into the archive under the cover of darkness. Just as he was tucking Eudora's desired document into his cloak, he heard dwarven boots clanking down the stairs.
Damn it!
Gascon swore.
I can't let them catch me.
Ha! Ha! Yeah!
Huh? Who's there? What a nub. That was close.
Huh! Ha-ha! Yeah. Ha!
Piece of cake. Just a bit more.
Ha! Yeah. Huh!
Easy as pie.
Luckily, Gascon managed to do the deed quietly, so the dwarves never found out who had broken in. As agreed, Meve handed Eudora the stolen document.
Ha!
The dwarf shouted, raising the parchment in a triumphant gesture.
Da can't do nothing to stop her making vows now. I've got to write Zoltan right quick. Thanks. Thanks a million times over.
And Eudora did her part too. Soon after, the Queen learned there'd been a gathering of the clans, and Ivor had indeed spoken on her behalf. She could only hope the elder Breckenrigs had swayed Bruver Hoog as well.
Ah, you thundering dope! I told you to hold your horses or you'll shake the hitch loose!
Oh, now you're a bleeding expert, are you? You overloaded the damn cart, that's why it's busted.
A wagon lay strewn across the middle of the road. Behind it stood others, some loaded with gold, jewels, and other valuables, others groaning under barrels of pickled meat. Each dwarf had his own theory about how the accident had come about, and thundered it out to all and sundry, peppered with choice invectives.
An odd caravan.
Meve said.
They don't look like merchants.
Nay, they ain't.
Gabor answered.
Dwarves of the Ferens clan, carrying gifts for the Drake. Remember Keltilis? When he took roost here, Ferences fought him for near a century. Then the dragon got weary of fighting and they realised he weren't going nowheres, so they cut a deal. He didn't bother them. They give him what he needs.
Well, well. And these offerings they send often?
Every week. Excuse me, got to separate them lads, for they tear out each other's beards. Hey there! Cool your idiot heads!
Gabor managed to douse his brethren's fiery tempers, but the wagon still lay across the road, blocking all traffic.
Queen,
Said Xavier.
there's an easy repair. I've the tools, the parts. Need but your permission.
Of course. Go see what can be done.
Xavier did indeed make quick work of the problem. Within moments, the wagon was rolling smoothly down the road, good as new,
Well, shaft me, your highness.
said one of the dwarves.
Your engineer's got a pate like stewed meat, but he kens his trade. That's for certain.
I'll convey your words to him. Or at least part of them.
Me and the lads will be on our way now, but first, take this. Bit of gold by way of thanks.
Thank you.
Meave said, accepting the surprisingly heavy pouch.
In wartime, every copper counts.
The dwarf bowed in parting, shook the snow off his beard, then rejoined his caravan. Within a few moments, the wagons had disappeared around the bend. A pillar of smoke rose above the mountains, and a sooty aroma filled the air.
Fire!
Gabor said, then took a deep sniff.
Perhaps a bolt struck some barren trees.
No.
Meave said curtly.
I know that scent too well. All Edirn reeked of it. It's the smell of burning homes.
The Lyrians quickened their gait. Soon they saw a town fully aflame, and a roaring, furious dragon above it.
That's your Keltinis?
Gaston asked, shielding his eyes from the sharp glare emanating from the city.
You were right. Perfectly harmless.
Dinna ken was get his knickers in a bunch.
The dwarf said, grabbing his axe from his belt.
Queen, we got to make haste to the rescue.
Smother your fears, Sir Dwarf.
Ape proclaimed. Without waiting for Mee's reply, he dropped his lance and galloped headlong towards the burning city.
Follow me! Slay the Viper!
Reynard!
Meave called out.
Have our men wet their cloaks for a modicum of fire protection. We move as soon as they're done. If we don't make haste, Ache will be reduced to smouldering plate.
Your Grace, they are but common soldiers. To fight a dragon.
I know, but we must help them, or at least try.
While Reynard went to pass on the order, Meave turned to Gabor.
This dragon, has it any weakness?
Fear not,
said the sombre dwarf.
except a fondness for raw meat.
Meave nodded and swallowed dryly. Despite the cold, she felt sweat pour down her scalp. Stifling her fear, Meave gave the order to attack, and her soldiers rode into the flaming city. From up close, Keltalis looked even more terrifying. Though enormous, he moved with shocking agility, like a lizard scurrying over sand. With one swing of his paw, he snapped the necks of 3 dwarves, then bisected a 4th with a powerful bite. After that, he turned his attention to the Lyrians.
More of you!
He said, twisting his bloody maw into a horrifying smile.
God!
behind me! Stay together!
You sure about that?
Your Grace, we're taking losses!
Should've listened to me, old lady.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
God's blast it! My breastplate tastes choice.
You haven't killed the dragon. It has to be possible. Shite! He's raging now! Watch out!
My pain serves a purpose.
This artist will be reaping black-clad heads.
That day, many Lyrians perished, either to the dragon's all-consuming fire or to its flesh-rending claws. Yet their sacrifice was not in vain. Together with the dwarves, they were able to grievously wound Celtulis, forcing him to flee. The howls of the wounded monster rang throughout the valley.
That's right, howl, you scurvy snake! Shouldn't they ever attacked us, eh? Damn fuel lizard!
Meave, that's Vavranic, elder of the town and all the Ferences.
My regards and condolences.
Eh, tain't so bad. If nae for ye, wouldn't there be a stone left unrubbled? To be honest, when I caught wind some human queen come to Mahakam looking for aid, I said a crocus would sprout twixt my cheeks afore I'd vote aye on that. Gonna be a fear to look in my breeches after, but changed my mind. After what I saw today, what ye did for us, you've the support and undying gratitude of all Ferences.
Thank you. Faced with a Nilfgaardian peril, that means a great deal.
Forgive me for interrupting this tear-tugging scene of interracial reconciliation, but I can't hold back no longer. Vavranic! Double shice! What happened? Why'd Celtulis attack?
I ken as much as ye. Meaning, squat diddly. Just flew up, started spewing flames, half the town lit up in a flash.
Sheepshank! 300 years I've been a good neighbour.
What's done's done. Gotta think about the future. The Drake's just taking a breather. Gotta finish him off for he's regained form.
Meaning, we haven't much time. He heals like an alchemist's pup. And the nearest guards are miles away. He'll be up flying again before they get here.
Aye, that's what I thought. Perhaps, your grace, you'd,
What? Jest you must.
I ken you're tired through the fight, dinna want to risk casualties, etc. But remember, the beast sleeping on a bed of gold and rubies. All belonging by right to Brother, of course. But if quibbling some wandered off, he'd nae notice.
I admit that does alter my calculations. Besides, the dragon was badly wounded.
Putting it featherly, blood poured out of him like a leaky bladder. Just needs a coup de grace.
Fine. I'll do the deed.
Ken did see the light.
Oi, Vavrenek. This lady's gonna make your Rump a regular crocus garden.
Aye. Queen's doing us a great service. One that'll profit us both.
So, where is Keltulus's lair?
North of here. It's a vast cavern. Ye canna miss it.
Meve bid farewell to Vavrenek and set out on her way. Did her way lead to the dragon's lair, you ask? Shh. Let's not spoil the surprise.
That stings.
Keltulus's lair was indeed impossible to miss, as would stand to reason, for any space capable of containing a dragon must be enormous. The lair's maw, a black triangle cut out of a vast plain of snow, loomed from afar. Confirming the dragon's presence was the powerful odor emanating from it, one of sulfur and blood.
Well then,
Gascon said,
ready to become a legendary dragon slayer?
My father oft said, never should you count pelts till the hunt is through.
Meve said, dismounting her horse.
It's all the more true when you hunt dragons. He's wounded, yes, but one puff of flame, and we shall be not legends but corpses. Leave all thoughts of foolhardy bravery behind.
The Lyrians crept across the dragon's threshold. They walked single file, shields raised, watched by bats hanging from the ceiling. Keltulus lay curled up on a bed of diamonds and gold coins turned red from his blood. Seeing how he strained merely to lift his massive head, Meve knew the dragon no longer posed any threat.
Come to finish what your poison began?
The monster croaked hoarsely.
Fine. Do it then.
Keltulus turned over, exposing his vulnerable underbelly, and waited calmly for the fatal blow.
Wait.
Meve said, dropping her sword.
What poison?
Keltulus laughed while squeezing his bleeding side in pain.
So they didn't tell you? Lousy munchkins.
Hey! Watch your tongue!
Gabor yelled.
Sides, I didn't ken anything about it.
Keltulus looked the Lyrians over mistrustfully with his snake-like eyes, then began to tell his tale. The caravan Meve had met on the road was different to the others. This time, Keltulus's meat had been pickled in a special brine, one spiked with poison. As the dragon lay curled up in pain, Ferenc dwarves entered his lair and smashed his head.
So if I understand correctly...
Meve interrupted.
You're female?
Correct. Same as you.
As if on command, all Lyrian eyes turned to Gabor.
Can you look at me? We didn't peek under his, its tail.
If I may.
Reynard interjected.
These revelations about Keltulus's sex are undeniably fascinating. But I'm more curious why the Ferences stooped to such a dishonorable deed.
That's easy enough to guess.
Meve said.
They were afraid the dragon would soon demand more tribute to feed its young, so they decided to strike preemptively.
A wise and noble deed.
Ache cried.
Evil must always be nipped in the bud.
To the Ferences' misfortune, they delivered too small a dose of poison. Infuriated at the sight of the broken eggs, The dragon gathered its strength and flew to the nearest town. Meve saw for herself what happened then. And now it was up to her to decide how this story would end. The dragon had killed dozens, perhaps even hundreds, but had been provoked first by the dwarves' heartless cruelty. Did it thus deserve death or mercy?
I understand your pain,
Meve said.
But nothing can justify the massacre you wrought.
Nothing? And what would you have done in my place?
Snorted the dragon.
Pen a letter of complaint to Elder-in-Chief Hoog? They killed my children!
I'd have done the same.
The Queen replied, not hesitating a moment.
I'd have sought revenge, knowing what punishment I'd earn.
The monster looked Meve in the eyes a long while, then dropped its head.
I've no more strength to fight. I've no more reason to fight. Do as you see fit.
Meve raised her sword high and swept it down with enormous strength, cutting the scaled belly in twain. The monster bellowed out a long roar and writhed its tail, scattering diamonds everywhere. Then grew still. Keltalis, the last red dragon between the Great Sea and the Fiery Mountains, had breathed his last. There followed a strange silence. No one cheered, no one clapped. Only Ache whispered a prayer of thanks under his breath.
That was...
Gascon said, the first to break the silence.
Not terribly epic.
What'd you expect?
Gabor said, arms akimbo.
Fanfare and fireworks. The mountain to quake. He up and died. What else would he do?
I am certain, Your Grace,
Reynard said,
that the poets will endow this moment with the appropriate splendor.
I'm sure they will.
The Queen said, sheathing her sword.
For they are liars.
The Queen told her soldiers to gather a part of the dragon's treasure. Small enough not to bring down the wrath of Bruver Hoog, but large enough to fully compensate the Lyrians' losses. And Meve gained the title of Dragon Slayer, though she rarely made much mention of it. Meve squinted, the better to see the scene. Several dozen dwarves had gathered on the cliff overlooking the chasm. All were turned towards a ramp, at the peak of which stood a barrel.
What is that gathering about?
Asked the Queen.
Have we a feast day?
Nay,
answered Gabor grimly.
'Tis an execution.
A hairy head peeked out of the barrel. The long, pointy nose and ears left no doubt that it belonged to a gnome. The first Meve had ever seen in her life.
Help! Save me!
The gnome yelled.
They aim to kill me! Cast me in the chasm!
Shut your maw!
Barked the dwarf standing next to him, who then shoved the gnome inside the barrel and covered it with a lid.
Your crimes! The sheer weight of it, hey! No lighter punishment is fitting!
The other gathered dwarves nodded approvingly. Two gripped the barrel, lay it on its side, then lifted it to cast in the chasm, paying the thumping from inside it no heed. Meve leapt from her horse, and ignoring Gabor's objections, scrambled up the ramp.
Oi! You're not allowed! Hey, damn it! What do you think you're doing?
I think it's obvious. preventing the execution.
Thanks be to the gods!
Whoa, wench, you've no such right. Judgment's been handed down. Sentencing's done.
Yes, and a cruel sentence it is. One that prompts me to wonder what the accused did to deserve it.
Better to ask what he didn't do, the varmint. Arrived here with his peddler's wagon full of tricks and gadgets. Went from house to house, praised his rubbish to the high heavens. And what's it he sold us? Bombs that go off in your hand. Beer growth formula that makes your hair catch fire. Music boxes for the kiddies. Once cranked, they never ploughing stop.
You needed but to loosen the screw in the back and...
Shut your maw, ye roaster. Doesn't it matter all that? 'Cause we'd have forgiven it if he hadn't broken our sacred rules and hallowed customs.
Which ones, if you don't mind me asking?
Enter the smithy, cap on his head, held nails tween his teeth, and poured fruit syrup in his beer. Raspberry. Blech.
Just the once, and but a few drops.
You got nothing to explain your villainy, scoundrel. Not a thing. And that's not even the worst. Saved his highest crime for the end. He was in a mine. And he whistled.
Oh, aye, that's bad. Shouldn't have done that.
Aye, he did. Whistled. Through his teeth. And hummed in harmony, a long warble. We all heard it up and down the shaft, and our grand-elders were clear. Death's the punishment. Death by barrel roll.
Your land, your laws, I shall not argue with them. But perhaps there is another way. Can a bail be posted?
Well, the law does allow for something of the sort. But I don't see how the job is worth it.
Oh, aye, he is.
Willing I am to take him at his word. Does that suffice?
Aye. But just so's we're clear. No returns, no refunds. Now get the hell out of that barrel, you wee shite.
My lady, I haven't a way to thank you.
That we've yet to discuss. Perhaps first we should learn each other's names?
Aye, yes, of course. What a prat of me. Barnabas. Barnabas Beckenbauer. To friends, Bibi.
Meve. Queen of Lyria and Rivia.
Queen? Cows in the corn, colour me honoured. Your Majesty, obeisance due.
None necessary. Protocols for use at court, not beyond it. An inventor you deem yourself. Am I right?
Most assuredly. Though, truth be told, the dwarves saw no ingenuity in my craft. Seems I'm ahead of my time.
Fiery bursts in the palm of your hand. They shall be in fashion one day, to your mind.
Oh, nay, just a bit of misfortune, that's all that was. You see, I mistook mercury fulminate for saltpeter. The vials stood beside each other, see, and...
The details I need not know. But one matter I am curious about. Could you construct a bomb that would explode when desired? For instance, beneath my foe's feet as they stepped over it.
Of course I can! It's simple.
Why then? You wish to show your gratitude? You must join my ranks. Assist me to defeat Nilfgaard.
Defeat Nilfgaard? Pure ambition, that is. But I'd have been a barrel of broken bones at the bottom of a ravine, if not for you. I'll do what you ask to pay off my debt.
And thus, for the first time in Lyrian annals, a gnome enlisted with the army. And though Barnabas Beckenbauer was diminutive of body, this new recruit would prove his worth on more than one occasion.
Well, a damn shame. What with such good visibility today, too.
Your Majesty, allow me once again to express my undying gratitude.
You're most welcome, Barnabas, but please, we haven't need for any formalities when speaking alone.
Well, of course. How might I help you then?
I like to know. No, I must know who I travel with. Please do tell me about yourself.
About me? I've most civil relations with dwarves, as you saw. But is there anything in particular you'd like to know?
Why not start at the beginning? Tell me where you hail from, perhaps.
Oh, right. I was born in the distant south, in Tir Tokhair. My mother was a washerwife, my father, an armourer. Soon as I'd passed 40 winters and could strike out on my own, I left the family, my native parts. So I've been on the road now about, 20-odd years.
Indeed. A rather long while. Did the south simply not suit you?
Oh, I wouldn't say that exactly. It's just staying would have meant stepping into my father's shoes. Then forging blade after blade, plate after plate. Oh, just thinking on it sets my head a-spinning. Not for me, that, no. No, nature. The world so rich in mysteries, in wonders left to discover, and ways to make it a better place.
By building bombs that explode in the hand, for instance.
As those bearded fellas say, Mahakam wasn't built in a day. Besides, nobody was seriously hurt by those malfunctions. Not many, at any rate.
At the moment, have you any invention you've worked on? One that's near complete?
Oh, so kind. Oh, wonderful, you should ask. See, I've ever had an avian fascination. For birds, you see. Their wings, bones. The structure's perfect. The aerodynamicism, the plumage. In short, I believe I can fly.
I beg your pardon?
Yes. Yes, I'm learning to fly. Fly. You've not misheard. I, Barnabas Beckenbauer, will be the first gnome... what am I saying? The first mammal to free himself of the soil's bondage and soar to the clouds.
But aren't bats also?
A detail. This is no time to be petty. No, but frankly, my preparations are far advanced, and I'm rather optimistic about my design and prospects. I've calculated every trajectory, every force. It all works out. Just need to do a few more field tests.
Did you have volunteers try it, or did you test the design yourself?
Naturally, I must stay on the ground, who take all the measurements elsewise. Luckily, there's no lack of thrill-seekers in Mahakam. Most eager to etch themselves into the annals. My first prototype, the Sky Licker, I dubbed it. Oh, Your Majesty, if you'd only seen the beauty. Flew over 120 ells.
Truly? Colour me impressed indeed. Must have made quite the name for himself, your brave volunteer. I'm certain he's caught the eye of every she-dwarf in Mahakam since.
Oh no, he's dead. The landing, it was rough. And then a bear sauntered by, didn't help any. Anyhow, as he died, the dwarf swore he regretted nothing. Brave lad. A bit daft, though.
I see. But the next time you request I try one of your inventions, I'd ask you to remind me of this touching tale. Time I attended to other matters.
Ah, yes, you're still here. Off you go, then.
Every year more monsters crawl out for spring cleaning.
A blizzard's blowing in. Your Grace, perhaps we'd best pitch camp and wait for clear weather.
Tain't a bad idea. Said we might be waiting a week.
Then we march on. We've no time to waste. While we ride to and fro begging aid, Nilfgaard grows in power. We must obtain reinforcements as quickly as possible and liberate our home.
Should have listened to me, old lady.
I'll fight to my last breath.
Not supposed to be any smoke.
As ordered.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
I smell a leak.
Cursed traitors.
All right, that's no problem.
What do you want of me?
For Demavend!
You mad? Don't say that! Brach! Scheiß! In zwei!
Fuck, our ass is moving.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch.
Prepare to fight, if you've any honor.
Niamh rode on in silence, endeavoring to work out the length of her exile thus far. A scout's call tore her from her reverie.
Your Grace! You must see this!
With a grave mien, the soldier indicated a track in the snow. The hobnail bootprint was all too familiar. Niamh had seen it before, upon Lyria's sandy tracks, and midst the ashes to which Edirn had been turned.
Nilfgaardian footmen,
Seethed Niamh.
Marched through of late.
Interrupted Gaston.
A day, perhaps 2 days past.
The scouts had learned a Nilfgaardian caravan with an armed escort had recently arrived in Mahakam. The invaders had brought with them chests brimming with gold and jewels, then exchanged these for the finest Mahakaman-forged swords and spears. A scout gave me one of the coins the Blackclads had used for payment. Upon the coin's back, the Lyrian eagle.
they pay with gold from my vault.
The Queen said through gritted teeth.
For arms that will cut down my fighting men and subjects.
We might yet pursue and hunt them down,
said Reynard, a spark in his eye.
And make certain Eddahi never lays hands on those weapons.
You might, I can.
Piped up Gabor, who had been listening to their exchange.
But you might also recall, we Mahakamans are neutrals who assure all guests within our borders safety. True, formally speaking, the Nilfgaardians have passed outside them, but attack him a stone's throw from our gates, and you'll see Bruver's rage come out his ears as steam, and out his arse as fire.
Gabor, forgive me,
said the Queen.
This caravan we must attack. I must stop the Nilfgaardians. And entirely apart, I should be quite content to watch Bruver spew fire.
Gabor's mouth gaped as he tried to protest, but the Lyrian soldier's laughter drowned out his grunts. Niamh gave the signal to depart. Soon after, Queen and company descended upon the foe's caravan, and a battle ensued.
I want that transport in one piece!
God!
You'll never take me alive!
Sod it. Sod it all.
Wise choice.
My pain serves a purpose.
Have her done in a jiffy.
This could hurt.
Ha! Order!
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Of course, as you wish, master.
Not supposed to be any smoke.
Seisel!
Herzer.
Aye.
Yes.
What do you want of me?
Off to the front yet again.
Company! Forward march!
Wait, you're serious?
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
The commissary here.
The transport's ours.
Crushed by their defeat, the Nilfgaardians tossed the chests into the snow lining the road and rode off with the cracking of their whips. One chest burst open, revealing a weapon wrapped in greased leather. Gascon removed the leather and held aloft a sigil that shone with newly forged luster. He examined it from all sides, then put his thumb to its blade. Blood immediately squirted out.
Ooh! Sharp bastard,
He said, clearly impressed. Hearing these words, Gabor unexpectedly burst out laughing.
What's got you so tickled, if you don't mind my asking?
Custom holds. The first words out a warrior's mouth upon seeing a sill become the blade's name. So, congrats. You've dubbed it.
Gascon stood there awkwardly as Meve took the weapon from him.
I'd have chosen a different name personally, one with a bit more dignity. But Sharp Bastard has an undeniable charm. And I cannot wait to try it out on Nilfgaardian plate.
Aye, but perhaps nae in Mahakam.
Gabor interjected.
You've made a fine enough mess for yourselves as is. Gonna need to amend for it somehow. And that'll nae be easy.
Tidings of Meve's deeds soon reached Bruver Hoog's meaty ears. And though there was no fire, despite Gabor's insistence to the contrary, there was also no doubt the Elder-in-Chief was livid. Only the Zigrin's intercession on their behalf kept the Lyrians from being thrown out of the mountains.
Pissing in the moat? Oh, dead.
If anyone asks, you've not seen me. There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
We shan't pass this way.
Oh, Reynard, whatever would we do without you? Plummet off the cliff like lemmings, no doubt.
Meve squinted and gazed off into the distance. It seemed to her that hundreds of black patches covered the peaks on the horizon. Once she had ridden up closer, she realized these were the windows of homes carved out of solid rock.
Our pride this was,
sighed Gabor.
Boro's Rump. A city carved out of mountain rock. Hundreds of miles of tunnels, dozens of steelworks, smithies and forges. Now, it's a vast lair to monsters. They ooze from underground, weave their nests, hatch their young, and when hunger hits them in the gut, they prowl down into the pass.
Meve stood at the entrance to the underground city. The monumental gate, cast in bronze, lay on the ground, folded multiple times as a scroll of paper. Out of blackened windows oozed a stench of rotting meat and mold. The Queen bent an ear to hear water dripping, and, in the distance, a metallic scraping. A sound akin to chitinous scales rubbing against rock.
The soldiers await your order, Your Grace,
said Reynard quietly, as if he feared he would wake the beasts asleep in the caverns.
Do you recall my words as we fled Lyria?
Said Meve, turning to Reynard.
You swore you would retake your crown, even if you had to penetrate hell to do so.
Time to follow that oath.
The Queen inhaled deeply and stepped forward, her sword raised and prepared to strike or parry. Moments later, it was swinging, fighting, as the current tenants of Boro's Rump came out to meet her.
Oh, this stench is foul.
I'd like to make it known that us gnomes don't run so fast. You know, in case you were planning to skip out on the quick.
Ah, damn it! They're hatching! Place is about to swarm with creepers!
I'll fight to my last breath.
Cock it.
My scars? No, they don't hurt. This could hurt.
Off to the front yet again.
Watch your heads!
Though I walk through the valley of darkness, I shall fear no evil.
I think you'll really like this one.
You sure about that?
should have listened to me old lady.
We must trust each other.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
God's blessed it. My breastplate.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Quick and painful this'll be.
This way! Follow me!
Though wounded, Meve approached the Sheomar, which lay writhing on the ground. She then ran her sword through its heart, finishing it. Yet so spent was she that she lacked the strength to pull her blade from between the plates of the chitinous armor.
The beast near took me.
She whispered.
It was very close.
The Lyrians reached a vast hall that had once served the clans as their meeting room. The stone benches were covered in sticky slime and insectoid eggs, while bats of varying size hung from the crystal chandeliers. Gascon rummaged through old, weathered bones, surely hoping to find something of value. Gabor, in turn, was at a shut and locked door, grappling with it as if it were a deadly beast. The door finally gave way with a sigh, and the dwarf raised his arms in a triumphant gesture.
It's a storeroom. Should hold miners' tools aplenty,
he said, enthused.
Some barrels of alchemical brews in here too. Lucky there's no sign of moisture. They haven't soaked through. Alls we've got to do is roll them out into the corridor and set a bit of fire to them. And whoomph! We'll have sealed the beasts off from the pass once and for all.
Meve treated the dwarves' instructions as hallowed. Soon after, the mountains trembled from a powerful explosion. Rubble came down and blocked the tunnels. They say the plumes of smoke escaping the window openings in the rock could be seen as far as Aldersburg. Dark clouds hovered over the horizon, and a strong gale snapped their banners.
Damn it, a storm's coming. Gabor! Take us to the nearest settlement. We must seek shelter.
Soon the Lyrians arrived in Stuhlkamp. The town square proved full of folk. Several dozen dwarves laden with large sacks and satchels stood about in smaller groups. When a thick snow began to fall, the dwarves cheered. Tears streamed down the cheeks of several, but Meve could not tell if they issued from some fortuitous occurrence, or if the strong wind had wrung moisture from their eyes.
What is it we witness? Why do they rejoice at a snowstorm?
Asked Meve, pulling her hood over her head.
Well, the Blizzard's good cause to postpone their expedition by another day.
Gabor responded.
See, they've been conscripted by drawn lots to be settlers. Found homes in a village in Blackbrook Vale. 7 expeditions have gone that way already, and none survived longer than a year. Valley's cursed. No two ways about it.
Intrigued, Meve proceeded to speak with the settlers' leader. He confirmed Gabor's claim. He had buried many a previous colonist. All had been abnormally thin, pale, prematurely greyed, as if some wraith had drawn the lifeblood out of them. Once the dwarf had finished his tale, he gripped the Queen's hand firmly, and promising a generous reward, begged that she and her Lyrians accompany the expedition to Blackbrook Valley.
'Tain't far. Mere few leagues north along the main road. We'll make the march much easier to ken with the whole army, in case of any danger.
I know not how useful our swords can be against curses and spectres,
said Meve.
But leave you bereft and in need I will not. We shall march with you into Blackbrook Vale and see to it that you are safely arrived. Then we will march on.
The dwarf sped off to announce the good tidings to his settler brethren. By the time the blizzard had abated, they were ready to march.
Stay clear of Boro's Rump. Unless you like shale matters, that is.
Enough chit-chat. Draw your weapon.
The unworthy shall be punished.
Scheiß in Trey! This could hurt.
My scars? No, they don't hurt.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn roots are killing me.
Tell me you jest.
Order! Watch your heads!
What? Oh, yes, I'm on it.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
For you, pal! Anything.
Should've listened to me old lady.
Wait, you're serious?
We must trust each other.
Meve had stopped and was removing packed ice from her mare's fetlocks when Gabor Zigrin approached. The dwarf squatted at the Queen's side, glanced about quickly, then started speaking in a barely audible whisper.
Your Majesty, I overheard some folk talking in the smithy. Birdies claim there's treasure, true riches, in the hills near Blackbrook Vale, south of here. Stowed away there. And nobody dares go looking for it on account of beasts that have made their lairs there. But you've got a wee army behind you. I reckon you can try. Might be worth the risk, eh?
The Queen brushed the snow from her knees and, raising a hand against the glaring sunlight, peered towards the mountains. Though tempted, she had doubts. To start, the rocky scree at their feet warned clearly of avalanches.
I shall think on it,
she answered, before vaulting into her saddle.
Blackbrook Vale holds many secrets and many treasures.
Following is proclaimed by
Impossible. I can't believe it. Gascon, he drank a dwarf under the table.
I've said it before, I think, dear Reynard. You simply underestimate him.
In Blackbrook Vale, you're advised to never stop or stray.
What is this place?
Blackbrook Vale.
Quite lovely.
Aye, and damned dangerous. Keep your arms at the ready.